The Haran people, historically tied to the ancient city of Haran, had a rich and deeply rooted legacy that spans millennia. Located in modern-day southeastern Turkey, Haran was not only a key hub for commerce and culture in ancient Mesopotamia, but also a place of religious significance. The history of the Haran people, therefore, is intricately connected to the evolution of this ancient city, which played a pivotal role in regional history. The city's influence was reflected in the social, economic, and cultural developments that defined the Haran people's place in the ancient world. The earliest records of Haran date back to the 3rd millennium BCE, a period when it was already a significant settlement in Upper Mesopotamia. The Haran people are thus among the oldest known inhabitants of the region. Haran's strategic location at the crossroads of major trade routes between the Mediterranean, the Levant, and Mesopotamia ensured that it became a crucial center for the exchange of goods and ideas. The Haran people were likely involved in these trade activities, engaging in commerce that linked the ancient civilizations of the region. This role helped solidify Haran as a prosperous city-state known for its wealth and its contributions to regional trade. Religious life was central to the Haran people's identity. The city of Haran is most famous for its association with the moon god Sin. The temple of the moon god in Haran was one of the most revered religious centers in the ancient Near East. Sin, also worshipped in the southern Mesopotamian city of Ur, was considered the lord of time and the god who presided over destiny. For the Haran people, devotion to Sin shaped their worldview, their political structure, and their cultural expressions. The moon cult of Haran persisted for centuries, influencing neighboring peoples and playing a role in shaping the religious landscape of the ancient world. This devotion also fostered a certain level of independence and identity for the Haran people, who distinguished themselves through their religious practices. As part of the broader Mesopotamian civilization, the Haran people were likely influenced by the great empires that rose and fell around them. Haran came under the control of various powers, including the Akkadians, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians. Each of these empires left an indelible mark on the Haran people, introducing new political structures, technologies, and cultural ideas. The Assyrian Empire, in particular, played a significant role in shaping the history of the Haran people. During the height of the Assyrian Empire, Haran was incorporated into its territory and became an important provincial capital. The Haran people would have interacted with Assyrian culture and governance, participating in the complex administrative and military systems of the empire. The fall of the Assyrian Empire in the late 7th century BCE had a profound impact on the Haran people. Haran was the last stronghold of the Assyrian kings, who sought refuge in the city after the destruction of Nineveh. The city became a focal point of conflict during the final days of the Assyrian Empire, as its rulers attempted to resist the Babylonian and Median forces that were dismantling their empire. The siege and eventual fall of Haran in 609 BCE marked the end of Assyrian power and heralded a new era of Babylonian dominance. For the Haran people, this transition would have been a period of upheaval, as they navigated the political and social changes that came with Babylonian rule. Despite these external pressures, the Haran people maintained their religious and cultural traditions. Haran remained a center of the moon god cult well into the Hellenistic and Roman periods. Even as new empires emerged and different religious practices spread across the region, the Haran people continued to uphold their ancient beliefs. The city's long-standing association with the worship of Sin became a defining feature of its identity, distinguishing the Haran people from other groups in the region. The arrival of Christianity in the region in the 1st century CE presented new challenges for the Haran people. As the Roman Empire adopted Christianity, there was increasing pressure on traditional religious practices, including the moon god cult of Haran. However, the Haran people were remarkably resilient in the face of these changes. While many other ancient cities and peoples gradually converted to Christianity, the Haran people remained devoted to their traditional religious beliefs. Haran became known as a center of pagan resistance to Christianity, preserving its ancient religious practices long after they had faded elsewhere in the region. This resistance to conversion highlighted the deep cultural and religious roots of the Haran people, who viewed their worship of the moon god as an integral part of their identity. During the Islamic conquest of the region in the 7th century CE, the Haran people once again faced significant changes. The city of Haran was conquered by the Rashidun Caliphate in 640 CE, bringing the region under Islamic rule. The Haran people, like many others in the region, were gradually integrated into the Islamic world. However, the transition to Islamic rule was relatively peaceful for the Haran people, who were allowed to maintain their religious practices for some time. Haran continued to be an important center of learning and culture under the Umayyads and the Abbasids, and it was during this period that the city gained a reputation as a center for the study of astronomy and philosophy. The Haran people played a role in this intellectual flourishing, contributing to the preservation and transmission of ancient knowledge. Over time, however, the Haran people's traditional religious practices began to wane, as Islam became the dominant religion in the region. By the late medieval period, the moon god cult had largely disappeared, and the Haran people had become fully integrated into the Islamic cultural and religious world. Yet the legacy of the Haran people's ancient religious and cultural practices remained influential, particularly in the fields of astronomy and mathematics. Scholars from Haran continued to play a role in the Islamic Golden Age, and the city's intellectual heritage remained respected throughout the medieval period. In more recent centuries, the Haran people, like many other ancient groups, were affected by the geopolitical changes that reshaped the Middle East. The rise of the Ottoman Empire and the eventual collapse of the empire in the early 20th century led to further changes in the region. The city of Haran itself declined in importance over time, becoming a small, rural settlement. However, the history of the Haran people remains a testament to the endurance of ancient traditions and the complex interplay of religion, culture, and politics in the ancient Near East. The Haran people's contributions to the intellectual and religious history of the region continue to be recognized by historians and archaeologists, who study their legacy through the remains of the ancient city of Haran. Today, the Haran people's historical significance is preserved through the ongoing archaeological work in Haran, which has revealed much about the city's ancient past and the lives of its inhabitants. The ruins of Haran stand as a reminder of the city's once great role in the ancient world, and the Haran people's unique place in the history of Mesopotamia and beyond. Their story, intertwined with the broader narrative of ancient civilizations, highlights the enduring impact of their culture and beliefs on the region's history.